Hey Em, how are you doing? It's Miguel, and looks like the 26th of August. Is that? I can barely tell what time it is because I have a hard time seeing in the dark or near dark. And really, also, it's the presbyopia. It's when you get older, you have difficulty focusing on near objects like the date on my clock, on my wristwatch. So it's about a little bit after 8 o'clock p.m., and I just got back from San Luis Obispo. I was in San Luis Obispo because I was at an NVC book club that meets there twice a month. And if you're unfamiliar, NVC is nonviolent communication, also called compassionate communication. It was made popular by and probably invented in large part by Marshall Rosenberg, who's a psychologist who lived, well, he just died recently, about 4 or 5 years ago. And he was a student of the late, great Carl Rogers, one of the psychologists that I follow and enjoy, who developed a non directive method of psychotherapy. I've always been interested in psychology from even a very young age, and in fact, I remember reading uh, some self-help, self-growth books in high school. I remember, in fact, reading "Pull Your Own Strings," which is a self-growth book, self-help book, when I was in high school. I think I was on the bus going to school, and I have distinct memories of that. In fact, one of the first classes I took when I was in high school during summer vacation was a TVI class, which was a Technical Vocational Institute class, and it was Psychology 101. In fact, psychology was the very first college class that I ever took and college credit class that I ever took. And I took that, I think, my junior year of high school. So I've been interested in psychology for a very long time. If that was when I was 18 years old and now I'm, basically 48, that's, what is that, 30 years, 30 full years of interest in psychology. And let me tell you, it has been a wonderful pursuit. I truly enjoy reading books, listening to lectures, watching YouTube videos, uh, looking at movies, analyzing problems related to psychology. Let me tell you, it has been a lifelong pursuit and it's been really enjoyable. What do I enjoy about it? Well, I enjoy in particular the insights that it gives me about living life in the world on this third rock from the sun. It helps. I also have a background in philosophy. I was a philosophy major in college for a little while, and in fact, I also earned a philosophy scholarship that was awarded to maybe one or two people back in my days at the University of New Mexico. And I took a number of philosophy classes. And in fact, for me, I've got like this triumvirate of subjects that my brain has been focused on since I was a kid. Psychology is one, probably one of the most important ones. Philosophy is closely related to that, and science, in particular physics. But science in general, I think, probably is a better descriptor of what my interest is. And generally, these are non-fiction topics. Philosophy, psychology, and physics or science. They all coincidentally start with the letter P. I'm not sure if that has any real value, but uh, I love ideas. I love concepts related to psychology, philosophy, and science. And I've been thinking about them on and off, in my professional life and just in my, say, vocational life um, ever since I was young. And so I've read a lot of books in the area of these subjects. And in fact, I continue to take classes related to them. And so it's just a pursuit of mine. It's a passion of mine. Yeah, it's no less a passion. Now, getting back to the subject, I have spent most of the day in San Luis Obispo, and I was at an NVC book club. NVC is basically the art of empathic communication. That's something that's really important to me, and insights related to that kind of thinking helps me with negotiation, mediation, conversation, communication at work and at home and in my relationships with other people. And it's something that I really value. It's something that I'm intrigued about and I'm continuously reading books about. In fact, here's a book. It just happened to be here. Here's a book I've been reading lately. I'm about halfway through this book. It's called Mediating Dangerously: The Frontiers of Conflict Resolution. And this isn't the first conflict resolution book I've ever read. I've read a few of them. And I'm always intrigued to hear about new ideas related to that subject. So, you know, I wish I was better at conflict resolution and relationship repair, because if that were the case, then I think that my life would be a lot easier. Though, as you can see, I'm trying here and there to do my best. And that's not to say that I always succeed. In general, the things that I do related to mediation and negotiation, I think perhaps they increase the percentage probability that things might go well, but certainly they are no guarantee that things will, and often things don't. Sometimes things don't. Often they do go well, but sometimes they don't. Anyway, I'm curious about how you're doing and what's going on in your life. You've had about a week of school now. Maybe, yeah, a full week at your school. I'm curious about what classes you're taking and what interests you have in those classes. Let's see, I'm taking classes too. In fact, I'm about to I've been doing homework lately related to my machining class. This is my machining fundamentals textbook. So this textbook would only be interesting to a subset of people. You know, it's got looks like it's got some kind of axle there, some kind of mandrel. You know, who is interested in bolts, nuts, mandrels? And I don't know who's interested in that kind of stuff, but that's what I'm learning about. In fact, I was thinking about going to the store and getting myself some eye protection so that when I'm working on the equipment in the classroom, when those chips start flying, I'll have some kind of protection over my eyes. I do have something right now, but I think I want to get some kind of new technology. There's got to be some kind of new technology out there that might be a little more comfortable or form-fitting, or you know, help me when I'm wearing glasses, because I'll be wearing glasses a little bit more. So let me think a little bit more about what's going on here and what I'd like to relate today. You know, recently I've been thinking about projection. Now, projection is a psychological idea, and I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it. And I don't necessarily have a definition of projection that I can just read off a page. So I guess I'll just do my best to describe what I think psychological projection is. Now, this is something I've just been thinking about, an idea that I've been toying with. In my mind, I am thinking of projection as a way of describing the world. People describe their worlds using a narrative. And now, what words do they use to describe the narrative? Well, words that are available to them in their mind. And what are the most available words? Well, ones you've been focusing on lately. Ones you have issues related to. There's a lot of emotional intensity associated with one word compared to another word. And so you end up using words to build this narrative about what your reality is like out of available words, just ones that happen to be in your environment, ones that you're focused on, uh, ones that you're paying attention to. And so you end up building or constructing your narrative out of these words that are available. And and it's not just words, but it's also available metaphors, available emotions, what emotions you happen to be thinking about. You start sort of overlaying this narrative on top of your external reality with available words, available metaphors, available emotions that you're focused on in the moment about, and it could be concepts that are related to anything in your life in the present moment. But what happens is that the sort of objective external reality gets obscured by these available words, and you basically end up interpreting your external reality in relation to the words and metaphors and feelings that are available, and that's how you see reality. You don't see reality as it is. You see reality as you've projected it using the available material, which is your own material, your own available words and metaphors and concepts. So, this is something that people do naturally. They do it without effort. They do it unthinkingly. In fact, it's quite thoughtless. And, naturally that's what people do. Certainly. They describe the world using the words they have. And this fact alone can give a person great insight into how one lives their life. This idea of projection, how we're just a reflection of our external reality. The way we see it is that really our external reality is just a mirror to, the material in our own mind. How could it be any other way? It's like a logical tautology. It's sort of like, naturally, this is the way it is. It cannot be any other way. You can only describe your world with words that that are available to you naturally. Well, the fault in all this is that there's a difference between external reality as it is and your interpretation of it. There is a difference, and for everyone there is a difference, and that is what makes projection interesting. So, what does that mean? What does it mean when I say that everything is projection? Well, it means a lot of things. One thing it means is, it's related to other existential facts, and that is that people are separate from objects, that there is a separation, that there is an external reality which exists, which is separate from people. And just that fact alone also creates problems in regard to, say, what intimacy is and how people communicate, and the process of communication. It's about expressing and then receiving information. Anyway, I can go into it in great depth, and maybe this isn't really the time. I really am not providing any kind of really focused theory right now or philosophy. I was just talking about projection in general. I've been thinking about it lately. I've been thinking about how my world is just a projection of my own internal material. And there's a lot of power in sort of understanding that fully And there are a lot of angles related to that concept. It can get pretty in depth. Um, it can get so in depth as one might think that, I mean, if everything is projection, then it might be that there is no other. If you can imagine this idea that there is no other, that there aren't other. I know this is a I'm getting really existential on you, but imagine for a moment that when two people meet, they're separated. Their minds are actually separated, physically separated. For example, a mind is in a brain, and brains are separated by human skulls. And there is really no way for those two minds to contact one another. So they must, when they express information, they must encode and then transmit and then decode and then accept and then go back and forth to code and encode, code and encode, code and encode. It's all about, this whole process of communication is so separate. There's so much room for error. And when you pile on top of that the idea of projection, that really no two people have met, and there may not be any such thing as the other. I mean, really, can you say that you've really met another mind if all you can know are signals from another mind that are just indicators, that themselves are up for interpretation, which because of projection, that interpretation is skewed by only the material that happens to be available to you? I guess what I'm getting at has to do with a lot of subjects, like the subjectivity of morality and the subjectivity of knowledge and things like that. Anyway, I'm going really, really deep in this unstructured conversation. Anyway, I've been thinking about projection. I've been thinking about this idea that there may not be, we may not have an accurate representation of external reality in terms of the meaning that we have, the meanings that we form about our external reality. And I think it's really intriguing. You can sort of have three different people and expose them to the same data, the same external environment, and they will walk away with three different interpretations. If you take 100 people and expose them to the same external environment, they will walk away with 100 different interpretations. Not everyone's afraid of spiders. Some people are afraid of spiders. A small subset of people are. They are arachnophobic, right? But not everyone is. There are people who love spiders. They spend their entire professional lives studying spiders. The same is true with snakes. There is a subset of people who don't like snakes, and then there is another subset who loves snakes. A lot of it has to do with conditioning people receive from their environment. There's also an aspect where it's self-conditioning, where people make judgments and decisions about how to sort of figure out and understand what a snake is and what a snake does, based on what they know about their knowledge, whether it's limited or extensive knowledge. So anyway, okay, the person who's talking right now in front of the camera is a person who has an interest in philosophy and psychology and science. So forgive the scattered nature of my conversation. I think by listening to this, you're getting an idea of what's in my mind right now. This, and why I'm so intrigued by projection, because it holds a lot of potential. The potential to basically take 100% control of your life experience. Wow. What if you could be skeptical enough about the meaning you create about your external reality that you can decide and choose that meaning in ways that serve you best. What if? What if you could? There's power in that. Really, I think that's the basic need there. It is a need for empowerment. And I think the idea of projection and how everything is a projection is a very empowering idea. You know, it really gets down to, you know, when you're confronted with a bit of external reality that you don't care for, you know, it gets down to the strategy about how you approach that fact of reality that you don't care for. You know, that's really what life is all about. You know, I don't care about anything except really the most important thing, and that is, what does a person do when they're confronted with a fact that they don't prefer? You know, what strategy do they use to maneuver around this fact? You know, what attitudes do they use? What strengths do they use? What virtues do they use? You know, how do they approach and interpret this, what I'd call an unpreferred fact? What do? That's what reality is all about. You know, that's what life is all about. As a human being, how you exercise your judgment when you're confronted with disagreeable facts. What do you do? What is your strategy? How do you confront disagreeable facts? You know? I can't think of any question that is more critical to the human project, to the project of civilization, to the project of human life, than that critical problem. What do you do when you are confronted with a disagreeable fact? Well, you know, and your answer to that question will determine how your life unfolds. So, I've gotten really deep really quick, and it's really time for me to wrap up my little video cast. So, anyway, that's what I'm thinking about. That's what's on my mind today. Thank you for listening for a little while about what I had to say. And I hope you have a fantastic week ahead, Monday through Friday, and a fantastic weekend after that. And I'll see you on the other side. I'll see you tomorrow. Talk to you later. I love you, just the way you are. Bye-bye.